Live, this is News 8 at 11.
Here's a live look outside in New Haven at Blizzard 2013. The snow really piling up across our state right now, and whipping winds have knocked out the power for thousands of families. Hi, everybody. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Darren Kramer.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. We've got team coverage for you tonight. Our crews scattered all across the state. We begin with a first look at exactly where the storm is right now and what more we can expect. Let's head over to Storm Team 8 meteorologist Erica Martin and Steve McLaughlin, guys.
All right, we've got some interesting and updated news here. It looks like the system is losing a little bit of steam out there, all due to that northerly air that you were talking about, and it's drawing everything out at the lower levels of the atmosphere. So it looks like things are definitely starting to quiet down.
Yes, so the nor'easter, the northeasterly winds, that is now shifting to northerly wind. That means colder temperatures, but it also means we're shutting off that faucet. So not quite as much snow, but still really treacherous over the next couple of hours.
That's right. And here's our local radar, a closer look at it. We can see that darker blue that was indicating that heavier snow and more moisture just kind of dying down a little bit. We're starting to see some lighter blues out there. Again, that's because those winds are coming out of the north, drying out the atmosphere in essence, and that will provide a little bit of stabilization there. But let's take a look at our snowfall totals so far. Colchester, 17 inches. Stratford, 12 inches. Branford, an impressive 15.5, and Salem 17 inches for you. And when we take a look at Hartford County, we've got West Hartford at 9.5 inches, Litchfield County, Washington 12 inches for you, Hebron 16, and Vernon 13.5. Now Steve has more updates on the gusts.
Yeah, so earlier today we had an official nor'easter and we were waiting for an official blizzard. That has happened across most of the state. The criteria, we need that wind up to 35 miles per hour for 3 hours. We are finally now there. Now, these are the sustained winds. New Haven 24, New London 31, Windham 25. But here are the wind gusts. Check out New London 51, New Haven 36. You can see 31 Bridgeport, 31 Hartford. So a lot of areas we're getting those gusts over 35, and that is why we have the blizzard-like conditions. And last hour, we had indication that parts of eastern Connecticut may have had wind gusts over 50 or 60 miles per hour. And the National Weather Service out of Boston reported parts of Massachusetts with hurricane-force wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour. Nasty winds will continue overnight tonight as the snow continues to fall. Back over to Erica.
Thanks, Steve. So let's take a look at some of the important details here as far as this blizzard is concerned. So the snowfall, while it was getting heavier, it seems to be dying down just a little bit as that drier air starts to mix in. But those northerly winds are definitely increasing and definitely drying out the atmosphere. Most of this clearing by tomorrow afternoon. Darren and Sonia, back to you.
All right, Erica, thank you. The highways are closed. The road's very dangerous out there tonight.
News 8's Bob Wilson has been watching some folks try to find gas tonight. And Naked Nuoso in the mobile weather lab checking out how bad those roads are. And Naked, those roads are awfully bad, right?
They're pretty bad, Darren and Sonia. In fact, we call it the mobile weather lab, but right now we're not very mobile because we're actually stuck in the snow. I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. We're in downtown New Haven. When Erica and Steve and everyone back there was saying that the wind gusts would increase, they were right. When they said the snow would increase over the course of the evening, they were right. Earlier, we had no problem. You can see that gentleman trying to help shovel us out of this snow pile that we're stuck in. But earlier tonight, we had no problem driving all over the state. Now we're just downtown and having a difficult time getting around. This is actually the second time that we got stuck in the last 30 minutes, but we're seeing cars stuck on the roads all throughout the city and on the highway. So those warnings, heed those warnings. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. Even we're not immune to it because we're actually stuck here right now. But we're going to check in the conditions elsewhere in the state. Send it over to Bob Wilson now. Bob?
Yeah, here in West Hartford, we want to talk about the snow rate that it's coming down at. We were talking about maybe an inch an hour or so, but this just 45 minutes ago was plowed, and it has at least 2 inches on it. That's how fast it's coming down. 2 inches here. It is coming down pretty quickly. The plow guy's out. You see the fire department. We saw them go by as well. You're watching the fire department go by here. There's also a plow truck up over here to the right. They're going to sit here and kind of talk for a little bit to see what's going on. We saw a big fire truck go on. There's another car sitting here in the intersection with its blinkers on. It can't get out. It has been stuck here. You know don't want to go out. It is very treacherous. That car doesn't have four-wheel drive. It's just stuck there right now. And the problem is the plow guys are trying to get around the local guys as they come in here, and they're going to be working this continuously right through the night into the morning hours until the flakes stop, and then some. And there's no gas. None. This gas station shut down. It ran out of gas even before the storm started early this morning. And then there are other gas stations in the area. People are just having a hard time finding a place to fuel up.
There's a lot of places that don't have gas. Mostly West Hartford is out.
Mike lowers his blade one more time, puts the pedal to the metal, and plays tug-of-war with the wind. Mother Nature pushes the snow back onto the lot faster than he can remove it. All the while, his tank gets lower with nowhere near to fill up.
It's pretty bad, yeah. You might even have to go out to the Berlin Turnpike. That's probably about the only place that probably has any.
And it's not really fuel efficient the way you're plowing.
Not at all. Not at all. Back and forth doesn't really pay off, but it works out at the end.
Here in West Hartford alone, we counted just 4 gas stations without gas, and there was a 5th one that only had high test. This Shell station ran out of gas even before the first flake started to fall. He says he's concerned about how long the gas will last and when he'll have to go to his reserves and when he'll run out.
Well, we have gas tanks in the shop, but do you really want to use them? You want to use them for your snowblowers when it comes down to sidewalk time, you know? So we're just going to have to deal with it.
He'll be going 24/7 with the wind and the snow totals. The only thing that's going to stop him from plowing his dozens of lots, looking for gas.
I'm trying to watch it to the end till about a quarter, and then I'll start fishing for it.
Fishing for your gas?
Yeah, basically. These people here are telling me that they're not getting any trucks or anything until after the storm, and that could be till Sunday.
Yeah, fishing for it's a good way to use it. We're back out here live, a good term for it, as the wind is just whipping through this area here. We're seeing a lot of snow coming down on the highway, Interstate 84. We only saw 3 cars out on the road. All 3 were stuck. A lot of people heeding the warning. If you don't, you're going to end up in the side of the ditch. It's just that bad out. I'm Bob Wilson reporting live in West Hartford, News 8.
All right, Bob, thanks. The strong winds mean thousands of families are toughing out this storm in the dark.
There are thousands of power outages tonight. Let's take a look at the numbers. Right now, CL&P with just over 31,000 outages. It's about 2% of their customers. Most of those outages are in Stonington and North Stonington. Coming up a little later in the show, we're going to talk with officials from CL&P to see what's being done to deal with those outages.
And UI has 1,700 outages, most of those in Hamden. They got about 1,200 families there without power. So what kind of winds can we expect now through the rest of the night? Let's head back to Erica Martin with a more in-depth look. Erica?
All right, Sonia and Darren, let's take a look at these wind speeds right now for New Haven. First of all, you can't see a thing out there. 25 degrees with northerlies up to 36 miles per hour. And New London, we've got northerly winds as well, up to 45 miles per hour. So far, the fastest gusts reported in Windsor Locks, 43 miles per hour. New Haven, 47, and Groton, 60 miles per hour. So these winds are not letting up while that snow seems to be drying out just a little bit because of those northerly air. Because of the northerly air, we do have those wind speeds, wind gusts still kicking up quite a bit. There's a lot of energy there, and I do expect this to continue for the next couple of hours. In fact, I do think the hours between 12 midnight, of course, and 2 a.m., I think those will be the roughest hours for those wind speeds and those wind gusts. Again, coming out of the north, so it will be a very cold night. Those feels like temperatures going to be very, very cold, and I've got those coming up in my extended 8-day. Back to you.
All right, Erica, thanks. The state of Connecticut remains under a state of emergency tonight, and the state's major highways have been shut down. Earlier tonight, Governor Malloy held a news conference to talk about where things stand. The governor says the state doesn't have the manpower to put an officer on every highway on-ramp, but he wants people off the highways and off other roads, too.
We are asking our residents to limit all of their travel, although we're announcing a closure of the limited access highways. At this point, there's no reason to be out on the road.
The state has all 1,000 of its plows out on the road tonight. Because the DMV is closed, licensing deadlines are being extended and additional state troopers are on the roads.
Well, the storm coming just 2 months after Sandy now, and that means people, especially living along the shoreline, are taking another big hit.
Flooding is once again a concern in communities like Fairfield. News 8's Allie Reed live in our Fairfield County newsroom tonight with that. Allie?
That's right, guys. It was a concern, but I'm happy to report
nothing happened. No issue at all along the coastline, at least in Fairfield. That's where we've been all afternoon and evening. As you know, we've been reporting on this issue for you throughout the day. It was touch and go for a while. Officials in Fairfield were very concerned that there was going to be a storm surge at high tide, which was at 9:45 there. Let's take a look at some video. You can see there were waves kicking up, and some water did hit some certain parts of Fairfield Beach Road, which is expected. That usually happens in that area when there is a large storm. But there wasn't a storm surge, so thankfully residents did not have to evacuate for a little while. Their officials were concerned they would have to have emergency responders evacuate residents. They were worried, of course, because the roads are very slick and wet, and they were worried that that was going to present its own challenges. So that didn't have to be an issue. Scott Bartlett, who is the head of DPW in Fairfield, was kind enough to let us sit with him yesterday through his strategic meetings with all the heads of Fairfield to talk about how they were going to handle this. He also let us sit with him today as he monitored the situation closely, and we were with him when he learned this was not going to be an issue. Let's hear what he had to say.
We were more sensitive to Fairfield Beach Road and all the residents and what they've been through in both Irene and Sandy. So, yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking these last few days, but it looks like we got away with one this time.
And they deserve to get away with one. They've been through so much. As we drove along Fairfield Beach Road, you just see so many houses off their foundations, very much still damaged, picking up the pieces of very far away from any sort of recovery from Superstorm Sandy. So this was a nice break. And also it's worth noting that none of the residents along the Fairfield Beach area when we were there this evening had lost power. And Scott told us he thinks that's because during Superstorm Sandy, Fairfield lost so many trees. So this time around, perhaps because there weren't so many trees for the snow to pile up on and knock down power lines, fortunately, those folks do have power tonight. Reporting live from the Fairfield County Newsroom at the Connecticut Post in Bridgeport, Allie Reed, News 8.
Well, there's a little something going on outside.
Yep, you think?
Yeah, blizzard of 2000.
Still coming down right there in Hartford, too, big time.
This is epic. And you know what, guys? It's funny because I've been saying Gil and Sam and not mentioning you, Teresa, even though...
I'm not offended,
No,
Jeff.
well,
It's okay.
okay, just
Even though I
wanna make
walked to work with you today.
I know, that's the funny thing, too, because Gil, you called up and you said you'd already gotten it. We all stayed in town in New Haven last night, and you called me up and said, just with a warning, about how it was driving
Start figuring out how you're going to get here.
Backwards on one-way streets and so forth to get over here.
Yes.
So Teresa and I, we walked over here, trudged our way in boots and so forth.
Yeah, you don't want to change out of those boots.
Footwear. No, my feet are nice and toasty.
Okay.
So anyway, but it is just biblical out there.
And the big thing you were saying, what the governor's saying, right?
5:15, all roads are closed as of right now and until further notice.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? Even if legislatively, I have a funny feeling that Mother Nature's going to intervene with you, even if
you
get
make
out,
an attempt. That's what Bob Wilson was saying earlier. They planned on driving. It doesn't happen when we have about 2 feet of snow. And we're getting some totals now coming in, 34, 35-inch totals. I mean, that's impressive.
It's impressive. It's more snow than I have ever seen in my entire life.
Even if you get stuck right in front of your house, which you're liable to do, believe it or not, all of a sudden that garage is going to look a long, far away from you if your car is stuck in the middle of the road. So,
well, we keep saying this. Just don't go.
Right,
Yeah,
and
don't go
for
out.
those
That's
of you that maybe want to make an attempt to shovel, that snow underneath is the heavy wet variety, so you have to be careful with that. It is starting to wind down a little bit, though. Can I share a little good news?
Yes, please do
It's
that.
just about over. Look at the left side right there where it's pretty much winding down right around Danbury down through Stamford. Now, you may have a couple of flurries or a brief little touch of snow, but the main accumulating band, that's kind of lined up right now for places like right down through the Route 9 corridor into Old Saybrook and Westbrook, and then as you work a little bit west of there, Clinton, also Killingworth, North Madison, and there is some more that's kind of working now into the eastern part of the state as well, so we could see some additional accumulations over there. We had up to 9 inches earlier. I still think we could have between now and noon 2 to 4 inches easily.
Definitely.
In quite a few central and eastern areas.
Especially with these bands that we're seeing in eastern Connecticut. So it's still not completely finished yet. Like Gil said a second ago, western Connecticut, it's a little bit different where it's not too bad, but it's cold out there. And that's the unfortunate thing for the people who have lost power, number one.
Yes.
And the people who are trying to go outside, too, to try and clear the snow up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the other issue. And as a matter of fact, if we can show you here, the wind chill, so you take the 20s out there, add in that current wind, this is what it looks like. So if you think you're going to make an attempt to start,
chipping away at that snow out there. It feels like 12 in New Haven, 5 in Brooklyn, 11 for the wind chill in Cheshire, 10 in Westbrook. I do think, though, Sam, by this afternoon, the sun will be out. So, you know, this thing's going to be winding down, but then we're going to focus on the cold weather tonight, and anyone that doesn't have power, that's going to be tough.
All right, I want to show some live pictures of the highways because you're not going to believe it.
Not going to see this often, I bet, huh?
Cars are just stranded on the roadways, and we're being told it might take hours to get to some of these vehicles. This is a shot, Gil, you were explaining the plows are stuck.
Yeah, I think they're trying to kind of get these so they can go. These are actually the big dump trucks with the plow blades here, where they're trying to just kind of move along 95.
And no one's
I mean, how often do you see
Bridgeport. That is Bridgeport,
Yeah.
right by between 26 and 27, and you could just see they're not making too much progress at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that one for you. Meanwhile, New Haven, these vehicles have been stuck for hours. We've been watching this same shot, and no one's really been out there just yet. Meanwhile, all Connecticut roads are closed. You could see that here in Branford. That happened at 5:15 this morning. It's until further notice. The highway ban went into effect at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Just very treacherous conditions out there. That's coming from state police. 230 accidents they've responded to. There was 1 fatality, and you're not traveling by train or by air, so stay put.
Any estimate on airports?
7
or not
a.m.
even?
We're getting an update from Bradley. As of right now, it's closed, but we are expecting an update in about a half an hour.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Jose can show the weather graphics before we get over to Jeff, because with all this talk, I want people to know this thing is going to end. That's the look of the map right there at 12:15, and the snow is finishing up in eastern Connecticut. But wow,
a doozy.
It's tough out there, yes.
It's true, and it's not completely finished, too, for eastern Connecticut.
Right. All right, let's go over to Jeff and get some more updates.
Yeah, it seems kind of strange. Okay, the storm gets to leave, but we have to stay with what it left behind. All right. Well, this morning, the state of Connecticut remains in a state of emergency. All roads, including the state's major highways, are closed. Last night, Governor Malloy holding a news conference saying the state doesn't have the manpower to put an officer at every highway on-ramp. But of course, the state wants people off the highways and other roads as well.
We are asking our residents to limit all of their travel, although we're announcing a closure of the limited access highways. At this point, there's no reason to be out on the road.
Well, the state has about 1,000 plows on the roads this overnight and early morning. The additional state troopers out patrolling as well. The governor will hold another briefing on the blizzard later today, and you'll see it here live on News 8. Well, the strong wind of this storm has put thousands of families in the dark this morning. Plenty of power outages, and here are the numbers as they look right about now. CLNP is reporting more than 36,000 outages. That is about 2% of CLNP's customers. Most of those affected are in Waterford, Old Lyme, East Lyme, Stonington, North Stonington, Groton, and New London. In other words, primarily southeastern Connecticut towns and cities. Right now, UI reports about 100 outages. Last night, that utility was reporting 1,700 outages, most of those in Hamden, where some 1,200 folks were without power for a time. I want to say probably 12,000. Anyway, we're going to go to our team coverage now this morning in New Haven, where nobody's going anywhere, or if they are, they're not getting very far. Drivers are either stuck, stranded, or both. News 8's Stephanie Simone is in New Haven this morning, checking out the situation.
Good morning, Jeff. Across Connecticut today, this is going to be man's best friend, the shovel. Everyone is going to need one. Take a look at the News 8 parking lot. Someone is using a snowblower right now, thank goodness, because look at the cars. You cannot tell where the snowbanks end and where the cars begin. That is how much is piled up here. And as we turn onto State Street, take a look at there's cars stuck everywhere throughout downtown New Haven. So much snow that even a tow truck got stuck trying to help another car. So really incredible, massive amounts of snow. Roads are essentially impassable here in New Haven as well as other parts of the state. Folks, just stay at home if you can. If you need to go somewhere today, it's probably not going to be until the afternoon, until anything is starting to lighten up and they can get the snow out of here. I mean, there's just so much of it that you can't keep up with it. Plow trucks could not keep up with it throughout the night. We are in New Haven this morning. Stephanie Simone, News 8.
All right, thanks very much, Stephanie. And of course, that is a good point because a lot of cars that look like they're parked are actually just stuck. They're just dead in the middle of the road. Well, we're going to head now farther north to West Hartford, where this storm is making it tough to get around there as well. News 8's Bob Wilson is live this morning in West Hartford, where he's been keeping an eye on things. And Bob, you gave us quite the look earlier. How are things looking now?
Well, good morning, Jeff. We got up and we thought, hey, we're going to run out and kind of show you around West Hartford and see how bad it is out here. And we got to the end of the driveway, and this is pretty much what it looks like. And I'm going to just show you. It is. This is not a snowdrift. This is how much snow is out here. Right here, we're about at least knee deep in snow. And one of the problems they're having here in West Hartford, we've been talking to the police department about it, and they say that the cars that are littered, which you heard with Stephanie, are just stuck in the road, and people had to be abandoned. They had to be pulled out by police officers or firefighters, and the cars were just left littering the road. Here, there's nothing. You can't get by that road right now. It is at least bumper deep. Some of that snow will go right up over the hood of your car. It has been drifting. It is a lot of snow out here, causing a lot of problems for even the plow guys. We saw in Hartford a big triaxle dump truck sideways on the road. It was backed in, and it was like, it spun out of control and had gone backwards into a snowbank, could not get out. We also have seen stuck police cars. At West Hartford, they have taken on the precautions. They have a lot of four-wheel drive vehicles, so they're okay. They can still get around. Their regular cars not doing as well. But at the police department, they have a plow stationed there, a city plow with an ambulance. So that way, if there is a medical emergency, they hop in that plow and they plow the ambulance to wherever they need to go. That's the kind of conditions they're out right here now. And they have had a couple of medical calls for carbon monoxide poisoning. And we've talked about this. And if you look at the house over here, on the side of the houses, so my house has one. It's got a side vent coming out of it, a vent for either a gas fireplace or it's on the back side of the house. I'd walk back there and show you, but it's just too deep right now to get that far. It's a vent that comes out the side of your furnace. If you have a side venting furnace, 3 of those have clogged up today in West Hartford, causing serious carbon monoxide poisoning. They back up, the fumes can't get out, and then all of a sudden the carbon monoxide starts building up in the house. It's odorless, colorless, you can't tell. And the next thing you know, you're starting to have the symptoms. And Jeff, I know you'll cover those symptoms a little bit later on. And that's another thing to be looking for if you have a self-venting furnace. So, by the way, I know I don't have to tell you to stay at home because you have to stay at home, but I'm going to tell you to just go out and enjoy the snow with your kids. It's the weekend. Go have fun, go sledding, go anywhere but into your car. I'm Bob Wilson.
All right, thanks very much, Bob. Always entertaining and informative, and incidentally, if you happen to be watching on the internet, WTNH.com, our streaming live newscast this morning, and if you happen to be out of town but from Connecticut, just bear in mind there was no snow on the ground at this time yesterday. Just to put that into perspective with what you just saw from Bob. Still ahead on Good Morning Connecticut, how this blizzard wasn't going to stop one bride from walking down the aisle. Was she in snow boots? We'll find that out when we come back.
You're watching News 8 Weekend.
A storm many have never experienced before, the last comparable one 35 years ago. Folks across the state spent the day digging out. Good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Logan. First things first, we need to check on the forecast with meteorologist Steve McLaughlin. A busy couple days preparing for the storm, Steve. Now the long cleanup.
Yeah, there is snow on the ground that is not going to be going anywhere tonight or tomorrow. It is cold and getting colder. Let's head over to our weather computer and talk about temperatures and talk about wind chills, wind direction, wind gusts. First of all, current temperatures. No one got to the freezing mark today. Bradley Airport right now at 22. New Haven, the warmest temperature, 27 degrees. Wind direction is everything. Yesterday, the peak of the storm, the peak of the nor'easter, we had northeasterly winds. Now with a northwesterly wind, it is cold, but it is much drier. Wind gusts right now still up to about 30 miles per hour in Hartford, and that gives us the wind chill, what it feels like. 9 Bradley Airport, Hartford 11, New Haven 15. It is going to be brutal tonight with wind chills below zero just about everywhere. But this is beautiful. A time lapse over Yale University in downtown New Haven looks great, but obviously it is brutal out there. The bullseye, Hamden, Wallingford, North Haven, 3 feet of snow. We want more of your snowfall totals. Tweet me at Steve Mac Weather, and if you want the complete list, which Quincy will talk about a little bit later, go to WTNH.com. xedge.com. We have some incredible pictures and some incredible information about yesterday's storm. All right, we could have more snow and ice in the forecast tomorrow night. We'll talk about that with our 8-day forecast. Erin?
All right, Steve, thanks a lot. We already do know that the travel ban is lifted. It was lifted around 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we're about to get the latest on the storm from Governor Malloy. Let's get right over to the governor and listen in.
Thank you for being here. A few things that I want to go over and make sure that everyone understands. As I said earlier, this was a record-breaking storm throughout the state. Preliminary numbers show record or very near record snowfalls in 7 of the 8 counties.
Welcome back. Lots of snow fell yesterday and overnight, but now the big dig is well underway. News 8's Neka Nuoso is live in New Haven with interesting perspective as crews work on the roads. Neka.
Well, Erin, you're right. I definitely have an interesting perspective because I am standing on top of a snow pile at the corner of State and Elm Streets. This is some of the snow that was on the streets and that fell fast and furious yesterday. We're going to show you time-lapse video of this exact street corner as the snow fell fast and continued to pile up. We saw numerous cars getting stuck. We also, in fact, got stuck driving around in our truck because it didn't matter how big your vehicle was. In 30-plus inches of snow, no one was getting through here. We have started to see some cars drive through, but most of the people we ran into today have decided to leave the car at home, put on their boots instead, opting to walk instead of drive.
Great, it's fantastic. Yale is open, people are downtown. I just got to Shake Shack and had a burger and a custard, so downtown's going. It's going to be a couple days, I think, but it's good to see everything moving forward.
Our car's completely buried, so it's buried.
Completely buried.
Yeah.
It's under like 6 feet of snow. The drift, the wind just buried everything in my apartment. I got snow up to my windows halfway. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Well, despite all of that, they all say that they're very excited to see all of this snow because we haven't seen snow like this here in a long time. So we'll have more on people checking out the snow and, of course, cleaning up coming up tonight at 11. For now, we're live in New Haven tonight. Neka Nuoso, News 8.
All right, Neka, be warm and stay safe. One of our crews last night certainly had a rough night. They were stranded in a car in the middle of the historic blizzard. News 8's Jackie Slater is just getting back into the New Haven area. Jackie, tell us more about what happened. You had a long, long night.
That's certainly true, Erin. I can tell you definitely not 28 hours is, I think, where I'm at right now, but definitely not 28 hours I will ever forget. While attempting to get back onto the highway in the Middletown area, exit 2091 South, right around 8:30 last night, there were cars sort of stranded all over the place. And when we were attempting to avoid one of the cars that was stuck, that's when we started to slide and just kept on going. And I'm going to say fortunately landed in a ditch because we were about 20 feet off of the road. And I think that was a good thing. I was a little nervous about other cars, other 18-wheelers that were out there. And, you know, having them slide off the road. But we ended up staying in the car for about 9 hours, at which point the National Guard showed up. And throughout the night, I can tell you, troopers did stop by. They did welfare checks to make sure everybody was okay in their cars, that we were warm, that we had gas. And, you know, they were only at that point taking high priorities, which is why the National Guard showed up, because they had gotten a call that an 8-year-old boy was stuck in a car that was about to run out of gas. And so the National Guard went out and they started rescuing those stranded motorists. And I can tell you, I did speak with Colonel John Whitford with the Connecticut National Guard, and this is what he told me about 2 hours ago. He said that the National Guard has been on about 90 highway assistant calls or missions. 2 people were transported to the hospitals in those military ambulances. And he said this all started around 11 o'clock last night. They're still out there. They're still looking for anyone who's stranded. When I spoke to him around 4 o'clock, he said they were working on 2 elderly assistance calls in East Lyme and Old Lyme, and those were people that are out of power that need to be taken to a shelter that has power. And total manpower out there, they have 270 active duty members out there manning the roads right now, manning the armories, you know, for those stranded motorists, and 500 that are just on a training weekend. So altogether, 770 Guard members out there working to keep the roads safe. And I can say, I really think they're just doing a phenomenal job. They took us back to the armory. They gave us soup. They were making pasta. And everybody was in pretty good spirits. So I think really it was just everybody was happy to be safe, warm, and get some food. And I was with J.P. Coleman, one of our photographers, and he got in some sleep. I didn't get so much sleep, but I'm looking forward to ending this call and then heading out and going to a hotel and getting some rest.
Jackie,
so for now, that's my story.
Jackie, you deserve a nice warm bed, a pillow, a blanket, some coffee, everything. Thanks for that update. We're glad you're back safe. Well, sadly, the blizzard of 2013 was a deadly one. There are several confirmed deaths. The governor actually just confirmed there are 5. We have some information on 3 of those. An 81-year-old Prospect woman was hit by a car while snowblowing last night. The vehicle didn't even stop. And another, this one in Shelton, early this morning, emergency crews responded along Darren Drive. A 49-year-old man was found unconscious and not breathing. Police believe he may have suffered a medical condition while shoveling out his vehicle. In Bridgeport, a 53-year-old man was found dead under snow outside his home. It happened on Old Town Road. Police say he was last seen alive by family members late last night, but he wasn't discovered until a relative clearing snow found him this afternoon. Police say he may have suffered hypothermia, cardiac arrest, but so far his cause of death hasn't been confirmed.